it's Perseus Hades Scissorhands here, and I know it's been a while. Some things have happened. I'm not going to go into them because they are a bit private, but I am back with another video. I am playing Our Lives Beginnings and Always. It's been a while, I know, I'm sorry, so I kind of forgot to do things, but it's fine. I'm back, right, at least that's a good thing. Sorry, let's get back to it, shall we? So like, I do know that I'm doing two, things, like always, I mean, like, if you've watched my last videos of this game, you know what I mean. But yeah, basically going to be doing two until each one is done. Let's do Ghost. Let's do Ghost. The night was incredibly still. You really couldn't ignore how silent it was. It was almost eerie. You could even hear Lizzie snoring in the next room over. It was hard to believe how much of a blur today was. Summer sure did slip right past you. You flicked through the moments like pages in a scrapbook as you laid in bed. The ones that stuck out all seemed to include your new neighbour, Cove. It was funny how he had become such a big part of your life in such a short span of time. You thought a lot about what adventures you could have tomorrow until sleep started to catch up to you. Then you heard something scrape against the window. It wasn't that uncommon for the wind to push a tree branch against the glass. Summer breezes was the worst sometimes. But the more you tried to ignore it, the louder it seemed like it became. It was like something was trying to get your attention. You lifted your head off the pillow to get a better look. Nothing was there. Nothing you could see, at least. You went back to bed. It was only your imagination, or you had to investigate the mysterious sound. It was too creepy to ignore. I like this one because it's always my imagination, like IRL. You tried again to close your eyes and go to sleep, but the unknown scratching sounds didn't stop. It left your heart pounding. You couldn't ignore it anymore. You had to check it out. Or you went to talk to your mums about it. Your nerves were wound tight, ready to burst. Sleeping like this was not an option, and neither was waiting for whatever it was to make its next move. You took a deep breath, then cast the covers aside and leapt out of bed. You were out of the room, down the stairs, and into the still, brightly lit safety of the living room in a matter of moments.
Are you okay?
Chance? What's wrong, sweetie? Your entrance had been swift, but it had not been silent. That was good. Your mums hurried to your side while you were catching your breath. The TV show they were watching continued to play in the background. You told them you were scared. You acted tough. You didn't let it get to you anymore. You told them that you were scared. You reached for the closest parent and clung to her for dear life. There's a loud noise coming from the window. Aw, did it frighten you? Yeah. Mummy crouched down and held your hand, and Mum wrapped her arms around you. You felt the concern slip away. Nothing bad could happen while you were with your mums.
You alright with that?
Why don't the three of us go upstairs and check together? We'll see what's causing the racket. Good plan. Chance, can you be brave and show us where the sound was coming from? We want to be especially sure we've checked thoroughly. You nodded. Mum released you from the hug with a proud look. You led them back to your room, still clutching Mummy's hand. Stopping in the doorway, you pointed to the window. It came from there, but I couldn't see anything. I'll go investigate. She flicked the light on with a click. Your heart leapt in your chest as Mum approached the window. Kneeling on your bed, she made a show of inspecting the area from every angle. I don't see anything either. Something was there. I heard it. Alright. You and Mummy stay back there and I'll keep looking. I'll have to go outside, but it will be done in a jiffy. If it is the wind, we'll have to do our best to sleep through the sounds. If it's something else, it won't be there for much longer. She winked at you and punched one palm with the fist of her other hand. Wait! You gave her a flashlight. You gave her a roll of paper. You gave her a stuffed animal. You gave her another hug. You gave her a flashlight. You stepped into the room and rummaged in the drawers next to your bed. If Mum was going to take on whatever had been in the window, she would have some way to see what's happening. This will help. Smiling, Mum accepted your offer.
Not bad.
It sure will. Thanks, Chance. Mum then boldly left your room to put an end to the mystery. You scurried back to Mummy, who brushed your hair reassuringly. After a little while, your racing heart began to return to its normal pace and your eyelids grew heavy.
It's okay.
You might be comfier back on the bed. I can keep watch. Okay. Let's get you settled in, nice and safe. Mummy made a nest of pillows and cushions, which you eagerly snuggled into. Your head was elevated so you could see the window. At least you could when you kept your eyes open. Mummy sat beside the bed, still stroking your hand. Mum and I can take care of this. You just worry about getting enough sleep for tomorrow. I know it will be another big day. But before you could even think of doing anything else, you drifted off to sleep. When you woke the next morning, it took a few moments to remember the events from the night before. Your mums weren't there right now. But you were feeling better. It worried you. You felt better. With the light sunshine glowing against the back of your curtains, it didn't seem so dangerous anymore. You hopped out of bed and headed down for breakfast, finding your parents already seated at the dining table. Mummy with a giant cup of coffee in her hands and Mum with her nose in some papers.
How are you?
Good morning, honey. Were you able to sleep well? Yes? No? You shrugged. Yes. I dreamt I was a penguin sliding across the snow on my belly. Mummy smiled at you fondly, holding back a laugh.
How are you?
No more strange occurrences to report? My investigation didn't turn up anything either. It must have been more scared of us than we were of it and ran off. I think you might be right, Pam. sit down and have some breakfast while the toast is still warm. What kind of topping would you like? Vegemite. Jam, peanut butter, honey, just butter, extra butter. I have recently, when I've come to toast, I've gone with the extra butter, like recently. Sometimes I might have, like on rare occasions, because I'm like a very fussy eater. Sometimes I would have butter and jam. I've tried peanut butter. I didn't like it. But recently I've liked just extra butter, so I'm going to do extra butter. Yummy! Mummy shook her head at you in amusement, as if that was the silliest thing she'd heard, but still rebutted the already buttered toast. Of course. After breakfast, you decided to take a walk to the playground to get some fresh air. As you headed towards the playground, taking off your shoes so the soft sand squished between your toes, you spotted a familiar head of green hair. Cove was sitting on one of the swings, but he wasn't swinging at all, and when you moved closer, you noticed that his eyes were closed. Cove? You made an awkward noise to get his attention. You poked him. You shook him. Poke. You prodded him gently on the arm with a finger, wrinkling your nose when he didn't respond. Trying again, a little harder this time, he finally stirred and let out a soft groan. Then Cove yawned and pushed his glasses back up his nose, blinking sleepily against the bright sun. Wake up, sleepyhead. Cove yawned again, and you raised an eyebrow at him. I'm tired. Same. I didn't sleep very well last night. There were these weird noises outside. By the way, I never had this angle before because I've always snuck out. So I never had this thing before. I never had this like pathway. You looked at him in shock, your heart beating faster in your chest and your palms beginning to sweat. Are your knees weak too? Do you have your mum's biscotti? Could Cove have heard the same thing as you? What kind of noises? Cove was quiet for a moment. His nose crinkled in thought. Like scratching. Like clawing against the side of the house. Trying to climb up it. I went outside to check. Really? That was brave. You did? That sounds like a risky idea. What did you find? Tell us. Tell me. Your curiosity got the best of you, and more than anything, you wanted to know what it was that Cove had seen out there. What it was that could also have been lurking outside your window. Cove shrugged simply at the question, his mouth set in a grim line. Nothing. Then the sound stopped. That's a relief. That's disappointing. That's relief. You let out a breath, happy that Cove didn't have an encounter with anything sinister lurking in the streets. The thought of it really being nothing gave you comfort, and you knew you'd find it easier to sleep that night. After that, the rest of the afternoon went by pretty normally, with Cove and you spending a little more time at the park together. That evening, when it started to go dark once more, you thought back on what Cove had told you, how he didn't find anything outside his house during the night. You held on to that memory, letting it comfort you and keep you brave when you went to bed, knowing that you had nothing to fear. Save. Next one will be Next one would be... trying to think of ones that were short. I can't... but most of them are quite long, especially this one. This one might be saved for the next episode, so I won't go with that one. We'll go with shopping. Come back before it gets dark, alright, sport? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you had been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He looked to be paying only a small amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you of when you first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Imagine that, being paid to be friends with yourself. I think I'll be happy and sad about that. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise, because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You've got to learn how to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them of sand, then jogged over to join the two. Cove, smiling at Cove first, and then his dad. Chance! Hi!
How's it going?
Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today, Chance? Taking a walk? I found a pretty cool snail across the road. There's a lot of snails around here. Mr. Holden grinned at you kindly. After you finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills into a tiny rectangle. Sounds fun. You know, Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him? You gave a ready nod, turning to squint in the direction of the stores, like you could see the goods they had to offer all the way from where you stood. Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't mind. Great. I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. He found it odd, since your mums only ever seem to have cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp 10 to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend too. Sure.
Good kid.
That's my boy. Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he was straightening back up. The bill in his hand still held out towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then, with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. You followed after him, intrigued at the possibilities this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide, creaking up the sand, and you fell into place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining, and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Are you looking for snails? Are you looking for shells? What is it? You didn't feel the need to ask why. Are you looking for shells? Cove startled a little at the sound of your voice and mumbled a sort of. If you see any, you can let me know. You could manage that. You dropped your view to the sand, walking carefully so you didn't step on any. You were good at finding shells. You had a lot of them at home and always found new ones whenever you visited the beach. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with a pleasant white noise, and you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting close to the water as possible. As close to the water as possible without getting wet. This resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when the wave rushed in more than a few times, and although Cove threw a fleet glances your way, he didn't say a word. You didn't either. What did you want to go to the shops for? What do you usually do on the beach? You didn't either. He seemed altogether too invested in the floor to pay attention. You decided to watch the waves as they inched closer and closer to your feet instead. Abruptly, Cove stopped, then moved briskly ahead a few steps. What is it? Without a word, he bent down, picking something up half buried in the sand. He hurried nearer, curiously glancing over his shoulder. It was a shell, lightly pink at the bottom and bleached white at the top. Wow, so you found what you were looking for? Cove got back up, turning his find over his hand before unbuttoning one of the many pockets on his pants and sliding it inside. I pick up anything that's kind of cool. This is what I got this time.
So...
What about you? What do you do out here? I don't come to the beach a lot. I like swimming. I like looking at the fish. I like to build sandcastles. Nothing. Sandcastles. Always sandcastles. Last summer, Lizzie and I built one that was as tall as me, and sometimes they have sandcastle building competitions down by the boardwalk. Cool, I bet you could win. You smile at Cove. Maybe the two of you would build one together one day. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. I don't know that word. That word's hot. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day, the call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and lots of salespeople trying to get attention. You sniffed the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. It was nice. It was not very nice. It was alright. It was nice. The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you, and there was a bounce in your step as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There were so many things to do. You didn't know where to begin. You looked down at Cove, hoping he was just as excited as you were. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. What's that? Cove? Hang on. Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large, colourful umbrellas blooming from their middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. Without another word, The two of you hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexandra. In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read the amazing Alexander in glittery golden script. Why tell people his name if it's already on a sign? Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as the amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards. Maybe we could stay and watch? Cove glanced back at the man. He then briefly lifted his arms up off his sides before returning them to place. You grinned, waving for him to follow you as you raced back to the stand in the crowd. With that, it began. The magic man pulled one card out of the deck, showing it to curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely. You did, squeezing through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his fingers and the card just disappeared. Whoa! The amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's this behind your ear? Nothing? Tell me! He backed away. Nothing? It was true. You didn't keep anything there. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer, and you wrinkled your nose in confusion as you watched him. You felt a tug, and then he pulled the 4 of diamonds out from behind your ear. What? You knew it couldn't really have come from your ear, but it still didn't get how he done it. There was light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from a clump of them tied down to his table. Both were in the shape of a dolphin instead of a normal circle. And one for your friend too. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow. Now you were really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card. My uncle does that every time he visits. Not the balloons, the stuff with the cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. Maybe it wasn't so special. Cove was just ruining the fun. At least you had a fun time. You wondered if Cove's whole family was magic. At least you had fun. You saw a magic trick and you got a balloon. That was more than enough to make it a worthwhile event. You thought that if you could find a card to practice with, maybe you could make it disappear too. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed to the side there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. You picked up a kaleidoscope, you picked up a Rubik's Cube, you picked up a magic 8-ball, you walked past the toys, picked up a magic 8-ball. Ooh, these are cool. You shifted your balloon string to the underhand so you could hold it up in front of you. Then you thought of a question in your mind, shaking the ball and hearing some kind of liquid splashing around inside. Once you had given it a good shake, you held it up right, waiting for the answer to appear. Concentrate and ask again. You wrinkled your nose and set the magic 8-ball back on the rack. It wasn't the answer you were hoping for. You followed Cove around to the other side of the store. You went under the awning and carefully... Oh my god! He went under the awning, careful of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. Did you have a place like this in your old town? Are you having fun? I don't really like it here. You said nothing. Are you having fun? He nodded, and you smiled back at him, happy to hear it. When Cove moved towards some stalls nearby, you followed beside him. Now, if I choose one now, you'll find it cool. It comes up again in step 3, I believe. Yeah. While Cove looked at Sandtails, you were drawn to a table with colourful keychains laid out on it. They were sewn in the shapes of sea creatures, and there was a plaque that read handmade, standing proudly in front. There were lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, and a turtle. Turtle. I like turtles. Your hand stopped on the sleeping turtle, just barely poking its head out of its shell. It had flecks of metallic green on its back that caught the sunlight when you picked it up. You remembered the turtles he had seen in a movie. He had been mesmerized by the way they gently glided through the water. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price though, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You rarely had more than a $5 bill to your name. Is that what you want? Huh? Oh. It's $6. I didn't bring any money.
Alright.
It's fine. Really? Really? Are you sure? Hooray! You don't have to. I don't want you to get it from me. Are you sure? Cove took the keychain from your hands, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself too. I was always gonna get you something. I already got the money for it. You smiled, pleased to have things work out. It was nice of Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you too. You had to remember to thank him next time you saw him. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store side by side. Your balloon dolphins knocking together and spiraling in the air. You watched Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey Cove, yeah? Your dad gives out money a lot, huh? I really like this keychain. Never mind, I really like this keychain. Thank you. It's nice. Cove looked further down the street, where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, yours let out a growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch. Let's get some food. Yeah. You two wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over to you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream and pizza, You both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamony, and you got a plain one with cheese, one with sprinkles, one with chocolate. Got the same. Let's go with chocolate. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed your pretzel over, ready to take a big bite. It had tiny marshmallows on it and was dripping with chocolate, just how you liked it. Your mums didn't like you to eat too much sugar, but this was a special occasion. You found an empty table close to the beach that the grit of the sand made a terrible noise when you dragged the chairs over it as you sat down. Drag the chairs out to sit down. These balloons are going to make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table as he stared at his still balled up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you. I know. After carefully placing a pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get too sandy, you tugged the balloon Dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it in a delicate bow around his wrist.
Oh.
Cove bounced an arm up and down, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remain attached, he smiled justified. Can you do it for me? He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the cast restricting his fingers on one hand and the string already tangled around the other.
Okay.
Got it. The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork. Both hands now free to allow easy munching on your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked out over the ocean. After a time, you finished your pretzel. You were done before Cove. It was boring not to have anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulated it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. If you turned your face towards the beach, it almost looked like it was swimming in the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When you glanced back at Cove, he had left the remaining part of his pretzel in the wrapper and he was gripping his dolphin too. Mine's name is Merryweather. He's the Prince of Dolphins. Mine's name is Splash. They star in movies. Mine's name is Cherry. She's actually an alien. Mine's name is Sam. They're just a regular dolphin. Mine's name is Splash. Their trainers use fish and treats to help them perform tricks. They're the most famous dolphin in the world. You sighed, wishing you could star in a movie with a real-life dolphin. What's yours? Cove considered the question, placing the balloon against the table and resting his free arm across it in contemplation. With a loud pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons. Oh no. For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock like you. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes, and you saw tears start to glisten. Chance. You made a joke. You offered to find Alexander. You offered to give Cove your balloon. You didn't say anything. He would be alright. You offered Cove your balloon. You looked at Cove, then up to your balloon, bobbing gently in the air above you. You can have mine. That was better than letting him cry more. Cove sniffled, glancing up at the balloon and back at you. No, it's yours. I don't want to take it from you. It's okay, really. Cove shook his head. Even though it wasn't your fault, you felt bad. Still, the offer seemed to lift Cove's spirits, and that was good. The passing of Cove's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. You separated on the beach, and while Cove went straight home with his brand new sand pail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset, fiddling with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to a close. It had been a good one, except for the sad final note. Well, there we go. There we go. So we got, just looking from the save file here, we've got 6 more things, which means roughly 3 more videos of stage 1 before I can finally click and then some more had ended, and then we can go into stage 2, which goes into like the teenage years, like the early teenage years of my character. So yes, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe, you can, no pressure. And if you want to watch me play games in real time, my Twitch channel is in the description below. That is where I play pretty much the AAA games. But yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.